Coming up on a paper talk today, we'll be talking about Alejandro Garnacho. Everyone's been laughing at him, including his former teammates. Plus, we'll be looking at two centre-backs Manchester United have been linked with, and an attacker. Let's get into it. Jay here for Stretford Paddock. This is the Paper Talk. As you can see, I'm outside Old Trafford and it's pretty sunny. It's quite warm for once, so you probably won't need your parkers. Loads of Manchester United stories to get through. Before we do those, so make sure you are hitting like, share and subscribe. And also check out the merchandise. There's a link in the pinned comment to that one. Right, let's talk about, you know what? We're not done with the Chelsea game yet. I know it was on Saturday. We're going to talk about that a little bit more because Alejandro Garnacho has been getting a bit of grief on social media, not just from Manchester United fans, not just from Chelsea fans, but actually from some of his former teammates as well. Luke Shaw posted a picture of himself and Garnacho more or less on the floor, and a lot of Manchester United players joined in the comments. I think Bruno Fernandes said that's a violation in the form of a GIF. I think you had Shea Lacey sending laughing emojis. Joshua Zirkzee commented. There was quite a few that have commented on it, and it doesn't seem like there's much love lost between Alejandro Garnacho and his former teammates. There's certainly no love lost between Garnacho and the Manchester United fans. Manchester United fans obviously giving him a lot of stick. Not exactly popular, is it, here at Old Trafford, because of the way, not just he left the club. I think had he left the club and he's moved on and we get 40 million quid for him, it'd have been okay, but the way he's conducted himself since he's left, removing United from his sort of bio and then putting us back in and all that sort of jazz. There's a load of nonsense that went on the stuff with his brother. When he was asked about United in a press conference, and he was very dismissive. He's sort of backtracked a little bit with a more recent interview where he's been a little bit kinder, shall we say, towards Manchester United. But it's obvious he doesn't have a lot of affection for the club, and that's reciprocated, and it's reciprocated by his teammates, or his former teammates, I should say, who don't seem to have a lot of time for him. And United fans are absolutely loving that, loving the fact that we beat Chelsea, and loving the fact that Garnacho was on the losing side, and loving the fact that some of his former teammates are giving him a bit of stick because of that. Get involved in the chat in the comments and let us know what you think about that. It's a bit sad, right, the way it panned out with Garnacho. Obviously, he came through the academy, scored in the FA Youth Cup final, scored in the FA Cup final against Manchester City. There's a lot to like about him in terms of his performances and the goals he scored, but it did get bad, didn't it, towards the end. Very greedy. Obviously, a bit of an attitude problem. I use that word lightly. Issues, like I mentioned, with his brother. Fell out with a manager. And then it was time for him to move on. And since he's moved on, he's more or less burnt all his bridges here at Old Trafford. Should we talk a little bit about some transfer news? Been linked with a few players. Been linked with a couple of defenders. I'll start first of all with Ousmane Diomande. This is a kid from Sporting, obviously in Portugal. A lot of Portuguese outlets are reporting that Manchester United could be looking at bringing him in the summer. I think he's around 22, I think. Would be a decent signing. We know we need centre-backs. We need some defenders. We have got another injury crisis. It feels like we have an injury crisis when it comes to centre-backs in particular every year here at Old Trafford. And we're having one now. Matthijs de Ligt hasn't been fit since the 30th of November. Lisandro Martinez is suspended. That's different, obviously, than an injury crisis. Harry Maguire was suspended. He should be back, I think, for the Brentford game. But then you've also got Lenny Yoro, who's injured. That was a bit of a surprising one because most people thought he would have started at Stamford Bridge with Martinez, Maguire and De Ligt being out, but then we found out he was injured. We're going to get a little bit more detail, I think, on that ahead of the Brentford game from the manager, give us a bit more of an update because we're not sure how serious that injury is. So you're looking at it, you're going, actually, maybe we do need reinforcements here because this has been a growing problem at Manchester United, particularly with centre-backs. You go back to the days of Martinez and Varane, how many games those two missed together. Even further back, I remember Louis van Gaal bringing a piece of paper to a press conference where he listed off a load of players that were injured. He had to bring a piece of paper with the names on because he couldn't remember them all, and a lot of them were centre-backs. So, yeah, I think we're 2 steps away from Johnny Evans putting his boots back on. But we'll see. We'll see what happens with Diomande. Obviously, highly rated. I think Newcastle are in for him, which makes me think Manchester United will get him because that's kind of what happens, isn't it? We're not that fussed about a player. Newcastle want him. Then we go, actually, yeah, we'll have him. And then we get him. So, want to keep an eye out. Let me know if you know a lot about him. We don't know much about him, but maybe we'll have a look at him and do a little bit of a scouting report on him too. There's another story doing the rounds as well. This was a little bit sort of from left field, should we say. I think it was caught offside. I think had this one about Christian Romero. Obviously the Spurs skipper who's out for the season. Spurs in all sorts of trouble. I think they drew, didn't they, at the weekend. They celebrated a little bit prematurely. They're acting like they'd already won the game when they hadn't. But he's been linked with a move away from the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. and he has been linked with Manchester United. Now, he's 27 years old, which is a little bit older than the players that we usually go for under Ineos, but it has happened. I think Mazraoui was 27 when we bought him, so it could happen. He's a bit temperamental in it. He's a bit of a hothead at times, but most of the time, especially in a Spurs shirt, he does well. Well, he does well for his country as well, to be fair. So, one to keep an eye on. I'm not sort of going, I'm not sort of buying me Romero shirts just yet. I don't think it's like, oh yeah, that's definitely going to happen. But stranger things have occurred, haven't they, in the world of football. Maybe it depends if Spurs stay up, but there's talk that if there was a decent offer for him, Spurs will be willing to cash in. They're a very strange side, Spurs, and some of their defenders are very strange. Like Romero on his day is a very good player. We saw what he did in the Europa League final. He can be a leader. Mickey van der Ven can be excellent, very quick. He can be a leader. But both of them can be lunatics. Both of them can get themselves in, suspended when they need it, or getting themselves involved in silly tackles or silly fouls that they don't need to. Just a bit of a weird setup there, a bit of a weird club. Whenever you look at Manchester United, Spurs always seem to be a worse version of what's going on at United, apart from that Europa League final, which still grates me. So yeah, we'll keep our eyes on that one. Another transfer rumour doing the rounds, this is a player we've spoken about quite a lot of late, is Junior Krupi. Now, I think Football Insider have been running this story, saying that Krupi could be heading to Manchester United. There's a sort of reports that maybe 60 million quid, I think around that mark, would bring him to Old Trafford. A lot of money, but he's a young player. He's 19 years old, scored quite a few goals this season. He scored twice against United in 2 different games, hasn't he? So it wouldn't surprise me if United were looking at him. I think this is a very good player. My only sort of worry, if I can use that word, is the fee, and do we have it? Because Manchester United at a minute, we need reinforcements in all areas. Now, you might argue, well, we need reinforcements in attack, so wouldn't you get him? But I think there's more pressing areas. You look at midfield, for example. We need at least 2 midfielders. You'd expect the club to spend a lot of money on midfield. Then you look at defence. We've had a bit of a makeshift defence, haven't we, over the last week, where we had Mazraoui come back in centre-back. To be fair, he can play there, alongside Aidan Heaven. Did very well, both of them, by the way. Aidan Heaven was fantastic, wasn't he, at Stamford Bridge. Luke Shaw has been fit all season. Will he be fit again next season? Because he tends to have one season on, one season off, doesn't he? Or one season where he's fit for the chunk of it, the majority of it, and another season where he's missing quite a lot. I don't know. Hopefully he will be. But you look at it, you go, we probably do need to bring in at least one centre-back and at least a full-back. So there's a lot of players that United need to bring in. And I do worry a little bit with going into European football next season, more than likely going into Champions League football next season. A lot of extra games. A lot more football. We've struggled this season with injuries as it is. We're going to lose, I know you've heard this a million times, we're going to lose Casemiro, probably your guy. I think he's got to go, Annie, to be honest with you. So we're going to need more midfielders. Then you look at the defensive problems we've had this season. We're going to need defenders. So can we afford to bring in Junior Krupi as well? You might have to. You might have to bring in another attacker. And you might have to bring in a striker, and he can play in that position, can't he? So I'd be very excited if he did come. He's a player that I like. He's a player that you've seen him against United. You've seen him in other games. He's got quite a lot of goals this season. Very young as well, so you expect him to kick on and do good things. So we'll keep you posted on that if we hear any more developments. And you can let us know as well if you hear anything. Get involved in the comments. Going to be back later on today. It's going to be the Paddock podcast with Joe and the boys. So make sure you're hitting like, share, and subscribe. I'm in Jay Motti outside a very warm Old Trafford. And also, just before I go, I want to thank everyone who supported us on the Manchester Marathon. A bit stiff today, I'm not going to lie. I was running for Alcohol Change UK, and a lot of donations. People got involved as well, and it was great to see so many people, including producer Harry, cheering us on along the way. So big thank you to all, and thanks for watching.